What challenge are you carrying into this summer? Is it a child who is pushing every button you have? Is it conflict with your partner? Or is it the way you talk to yourself when the day falls apart? The voice, the inner critic that says, you are not doing enough. You are not enough. Or you feel like you've lost yourself underneath all the things and you can't even find where you are during summer because you just can't let go of all the things you need to do. Whatever it is, I want you to hold on to that because this is exactly where we're going to begin today. Today, I want to talk to you about books, about why I started the Homeschool Mama Book Club, and about why I genuinely believe that the right book at the right moment can turn your challenge into your charms. Welcome to the Confident Homeschool Mom podcast. I'm Teresa Wiedrich, homeschool life coach, graduated homeschool mom, and the author of the book Homeschool Mama Self-Care, Nurturing the Nurturer. This is the podcast for the mom who looks capable on the outside, but feels scattered and unsure on the inside. I spend my days being the support, the clarifier, and the cheerleader for the woman behind the homeschool family. My work focuses inward because I know that the most important curriculum in your homeschool is you. Many moms believe that overwhelm has to do with curriculum or a lack of routine or an inadequate routine or a not helpful parent or spouse, but it's not really that. It has everything to do with the internal pressure, our perfectionistic expectations, and the old shame-based scripts we carry inside. Because you are the most important curriculum in your homeschool, you deserve a seat at your homeschool table too. Now let's get into today's episode. I love books. I'm sure that does not come as a surprise because I have been a homeschool mom. I didn't just love curriculum catalogs, but I definitely did. I didn't just love read-aloud lists, but I love those too. And oh, how I miss those read-alouds as my kids have gotten older. I really do. I cannot wait to pull out all those books with grandkids one day. But books, authors, coaches, thought leaders, ideators who crack something open inside of you before you even knew that something had to be identified. I just love books. And here's what I've learned. There are so many books out there that have helped me solve real problems in my life, helped me get clearer, helped me figure out how to address the hard things, helped me turn my challenges into charms. I love books so much, I write them. I've written coaching courses that read like books. I also have audio versions of them. I wrote my Homeschool Mama Self-Care book back in 2018. I have nearly 1,000 blog posts on my website. I've been writing since forever because writing and reading go hand in hand for me. And here's what I also know about you. Homeschool moms are pretty dang smart and often well-read. Now, I know that reading consistently just for yourself, though, is a real challenge at times. Hello, there is not enough time in your days. Having said that, every single time you read a good book that addresses something real in your homeschool mom life, you are always grateful that you did. This is the reason that I created the Homeschool Mama Book Club. Now, here's something the research agrees with us on, because we already know this intuitively, that books are good for us, don't we? There's a fellow named Jim Trelease, Trelease, who spent decades studying what happens when we read aloud. And his formula is so simple, you can't believe somebody wrote this down. The more you read, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more you like it. The more you like it, the more you do it. Intuitive, right? We know it as homeschool parents. Researchers at the University of Waterloo found that when you actually read words out loud, like vocalize them, not just think them in your mind, your brain encodes them more deeply. You're not just reading then, you're experiencing. And when you read with another person, that bond goes even deeper. There is something that happens in that shared experience that you simply cannot replicate any other way. That happened to me yesterday when I was with my husband on the floaty on the river. We attached it to a stump that's kind of sitting on the edge of the river, and we had our fizzy drink. We had a book each, sunglasses, a sun hat. This is a cold river, so he was like straight like a board for the first 20 minutes. And I sunk down in my perimenopausal heat and enjoyed, luxuriated even, in the cool river water. And at a certain point, I realized I actually just want to be read to. I love to just connect with him by hearing the words of his book, a book that I've read already this past year, a book recommended to me by Vicki Tillman from the Homeschool High School podcast. It has absolutely nothing, well, directly nothing, about homeschooling. It's called On Freedom by Timothy Snyder. I've already read the book. I was already told about the book. I'd already heard about the author. I'd already been reading about the things he has to share on Substack. But when I listen to my husband read, it feels like we're doing it together. It reminds me what it was like in our earlier days when we read a book together consistently. There is something unique that happens in that shared experience that we just can't replicate any other way, even now that they're grown. I am planning to read a Hemingway short story with my married daughter this summer while she takes her English class. I noticed one of my girls reading adulting, and I'm already planning to proposition her and tell her I would love to read it together. Because I'll tell you, any opportunity I get, I am taking it. And here's what I want you most to hear today. You are the most important curriculum in your homeschool. You've heard me say this on repeat. I'll tell you why I believe that. Because your kids are not just learning from what you teach them. They are learning from who you are. They are watching you, subconsciously absorbing how you move through your day, whether you're present or rushing from one thing to the next, how you respond when frustration rises, whether you yell, whether you hide, whether you talk it through and repair. They are watching how you engage with your own learning, how alive you feel when you discover something new, whether you follow a rabbit trail with curiosity, or whether learning feels like something you just have to get through. They are learning how to learn. They are learning how to live. They are learning how to relate because of you. And if that is true, and it is, then books that grow you are not something you need to tack on in your life, not include at the end of the day when you have a little bit of extra time, because we both know you don't. This is not something you do when you finally have enough boxes ticked, because you won't, and the house is finally clean enough, because it isn't, and you finally have enough time because what mom does. This is the internal work that you're being called to do, recognizing that you are the most important curriculum in your homeschool. So let me tell you about the books that I chose for this upcoming year of the Homeschool Mama Book Club, which is nestled inside our Confident Homeschool Mom Collective. So I'm not just going to list them. I want to tell you why you might want to read them. I'll give you the question that often moms ask that I'm hoping to answer with each of these books. Because here's what I've noticed after years of coaching you. You don't always know how to name what you need. I know, partly because of coaching, partly because I've lived it too. But we always know the feeling or the question that won't go away. So listen for your questions that might come up in this list of books that we'll be reading in the 2026-2027 Homeschool Mama Book Club. This summer, we're going to be engaging your inner life. The question is, do I actually know what I'm feeling, or am I just reacting to things around me? That is the question that Brené Brown answers in her book Atlas of the Heart. Brené maps 87 human emotions, 87, and gives you the vocabulary to finally understand what's happening inside you and why that matters for every single relationship in your home. If you have ever snapped at your kids, and we both know that we have, but if you've ever snapped at your kids and you didn't know why, this book will help you identify why. The next question, why do I parent and teach the way I do? And is it really me, or is it just my wiring? That's the book, The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stable. This is probably the warmest, most accessible introduction to the Enneagram I've read, and I have read a lot of them. This is the one that helps you understand why you show up as you do. In your homeschool, your relationships, in the moments that are really challenging. I find Enneagram to be genuinely life-changing. I refer to it all the time in coaching and in the collective. It helps you to understand yourself. It also helps you to understand the most important people in your family. The next question you might ask yourself is, what would my life look like if I stopped forcing things and started living it? That is the question behind Brianna Wiest's book, The Life That's Waiting. It is a series of essays for the woman who's been white-knuckling her life instead of living it. It's really for every human. My son-in-law loves this book. If you've ever felt like you are just getting through your homeschool days instead of actually enjoying them, this book is for you. Those 3 summer books in June, July, and August address your inner life. But in the fall, we're going to do a deep dive into the philosophy of learning. Here are the 3 questions from the 3 books we'll be addressing. The first one is, do I actually trust my child to learn? Or am I still operating from a schooled mindset that I've never really examined? We're going to be reading Free to Learn by Peter Gray. The research-backed case that kids are biologically wired to learn through self-directed play is presented in this book. This one will shift how you think about education. It does not matter what your homeschool philosophy is. You will notice a shift in how you see education. The next question is, what does it really mean to learn naturally, and why did John Holt's ideas feel so revolutionary to so many families? That's How Children Learn by John Holt, the foundational text of natural learning, the book that reminds you why you chose this life and gives you permission to trust your child's curiosity more than any curriculum ever could. And the last question is, how does my brain actually learn? And am I teaching my kids in a way that works with their neurology or against it? To answer this question, we'll be reading Learning How to Learn by Barbara Oakley. Focused attention, diffuse thinking, and why rest is not the enemy of progress. We'll discuss all these things. This one is so good for all of us. This is one that each of my kids have read. This one is good for you. It's good for your kids. It's good for your teenagers. It's just really, really good. Okay, so in the winter, we're going to talk about how children and adults grow. Here's the 3 questions. What would it look like to bring more beauty and intentionality into our everyday homeschool life? That is the premise behind Charlotte Mason Education by Catherine Levinson. We'll talk about living books, narration, nature study. Charlotte Mason is grounding and just beautiful. It's perfect for a December read to remind us why we're doing this homeschool thing and setting us up to anticipate the spring. Spring was always the time I focused in on Charlotte Mason concepts because I could go outside and narrate and dictate and draw and nature study beside the pond. The next question is, am I modeling a growth mindset for my kids, or am I secretly stuck in a fixed one? That is the question behind Mindset by Carol Dweck. How the way you talk about failure and trying hard with your kids actually helps to shape them more than you probably realize. Then we'll also answer what happens when I give my child more control, and why does that scare me so much? We're going to deep dive into The Self-Driven Child by William Stixrud and Ned Johnson, the neuroscience case for giving kids more control and why it actually reduces anxiety and builds real competence. This is really good stuff. No, I'm not telling you to be an unschooler. Just saying, homeschool the child right in front of you. And that is the value of reading this book, because it will give you the neuroscience behind why this is a benefit for your children. In the spring, we'll do a deep dive on the creative and writing self and answer these 3 questions. What if writing isn't about being a writer? What if it's about finally hearing yourself think? I'll leave that for a moment, for you to listen again. What if writing is really about finally hearing yourself think? That is the premise behind the book, Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg. I absolutely love this book. She teaches that writing is a spiritual practice. It's not something you do to get an A or to get a star on your paper. There's no performance in writing. This one will change how you think about your own inner voice, even if you've never once considered yourself a writer. By the way, when you join the Confident Homeschool Mom Collective, you're joining not only the book club every second Friday of the month, but you're also invited to the writer's room each month inside the collective. So the second question about the creative and writing self, what would happen if I kept a journal? Not just to record what we did, but to understand my inner world and the important relationships in my world. That's why we're going to read The Book of Alchemy by Suleika Jayoud. Suleika Jayoud has a book of essays and journaling prompts gathered from 100 writers and artists. It is the companion for building a journaling practice that actually sticks. And I am a fierce proponent of journaling. Why? Because I'm trying to just give you another thing to do? No, I know you have too much to do. But if you have too much to do and you can't think 2 thoughts in a row, journaling every morning or night or anytime you have a moment helps you to get clear on what's really going on up there and to understand the relationships in your home. So The Book of Alchemy by Suleika Jayoud. I think I just subconsciously repeated that person's name because I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, here's a loaded book that we're going to deep dive into next year. What am I still carrying from my own mother? And what do I want to put down before I pass it on to my kids? That's what we're going to read on when we read the book. Please Look into the Mirror by Michaela Angemir. It is a poetry and prose book about the mother wound, inner child healing, and cycle breaking. It is a courageous read. I find it so beautiful. It's a really fitting way to close out our year in honest self-reflection. Every one of these questions, I have heard them in coaching. Sometimes they're spoken out loud in a coaching conversation. Sometimes they're typing it in an email to me throughout the week. Sometimes we uncover these questions over the course of the Reimagine coaching program, the one-on-one coaching program I offer homeschool moms. These are your questions. And this year, the books are going to help you find your way to your own answers. These are the books that have shaped how I think, how I coach, how I show up in my own life. You can find all these recommendations in the show notes and over on my socials over the course of the next few weeks. Don't miss it. Here's something I know about you. You are typically the last one to give yourself permission to really matter in your own life. This is why I speak at the end of episodes. I often share that you matter in your homeschool life. And I've noticed that we probably know it officially, definitely would say it, but our practical reality does not reflect that belief because we find it really challenging to include us in our lives. We give everything to our kids, to our partners, if we're partnered, to our homes, to the people who need us. And whatever is left over, we think, well, we'll fit ourselves in then, which we don't. I know that I used to think a Wednesday night latte at Starbucks was enough. Just me, my journal, a scone, an hour to myself, maybe 2. But you know what? It wasn't enough. It is not cliche for me. I was surviving, not thriving. And I'm confident that though that's a really cliche phrase, it is the feeling that we often have when we've shown up in this homeschool space long enough. We're doing what we need to do. We're really capable, but there's a lot going on inside and we're barely listening to ourselves. We are not addressing our own needs. I know I had no real sense of who I was outside my mom role. I didn't even know I was supposed to know. If you identify with that, I want you to know that I've created something for you called the Permission Slip. The Permission Slip, a series of practices that help remind you that you are allowed to matter in your own life. It's a way of reframing your entire life. You have become everything to everyone, but now it's time to come back to yourself. Inside the Permission Slip, you'll find 14 daily anchor practices, each one with a reminder of what is most important and a note about why it actually matters for you. I also include 10 daily affirmations written specifically for those who've been the worst inner critic to themselves for too long. So if you've been reactive and exhausted, it's time to get grounded and present. If you've felt guilty for having your own needs, you'll get clear on what you need and how to make it happen. If you felt lost in this homeschool mom role, it's time to get rooted in who you are beyond all the roles. If no one is cheering you on, you'll feel like someone is your cheerleader. You'll learn to tell yourself that you are indeed enough, you are doing enough, and you can live a life on purpose. I know that you've been the last one on your list, so I say it's time to put you at the top of your list. Get the checklist to learn how to give yourself permission to do just that. You'll find a link in the show notes. So the permission slip is about giving yourself permission to matter in your own life. But the book club newsletter is what feeds you once you do. Every Wednesday morning, you will find a warm, thoughtful email that will land in your inbox with a reflection from a book that we've been exploring from past book club discussions. There will be journaling prompts, takeaways you can actually use in your day-to-day life. Here's what Whitney, a Homeschool Mama of 4, shared about the book club. I have really appreciated the book club this year. I've read some familiar authors and topics, but there are titles and topics I haven't even considered, and I've really benefited from these. I love that if we don't read the books, it's totally okay. It is. I know you don't have a lot of time. She goes on to say, sometimes it's nice to scope out the book at the meetup and read it later if it sounds engaging to me. It's true, you don't have to read the book. You don't have to attend anything live if you sign up for the book club newsletter. You just have to give yourself permission to show up for yourself on a Wednesday morning. That's it. The sign up to the book club newsletter is also in the show notes. If you want to go deeper, if you want to actually be in the room when the conversations happen live, I want to tell you about the Confident Homeschool Mom Collective. Michelle is one of our long-term members. She shared that before joining the collective, I felt alone in my homeschool journey, second-guessing my choices and comparing myself to others. But after becoming part of this group, I've experienced unwavering support, genuine connection like never before. Now, every Friday feels like a reset, a space where I'm truly seen, understood, and encouraged. There is no competition, no judgment, just compassionate women who have my back. This community has transformed my mindset, helping me homeschool with confidence, clarity, and a sense of belonging. And I just love having Michelle there. She is always a bright spot in our group. I love learning about her kids and supporting her so she can nurture herself while she nurtures her 2 boys. And then there's Sarah. She is a longtime heart-connected homeschool mom, author of Waldorf-inspired art books for kids, and a mama on the other side of Canada. She shared about the collective in this way. Love, love, love Fridays Collective. It is the only thing I have successfully and consistently time-blocked. I love the real-time interaction with other mamas working on so many similar things in themselves, in their homes, and in their families. Collective has helped me to work through common issues, gain confidence in the areas of life that I spend the most time, my kids, my personal growth, and also to connect with an amazing group of women I wouldn't otherwise have met. That it really is what we are. Real, warm, authentic. And we meet 4 Fridays every month to talk about the things that actually matter in the homeschool mom life. Here's what's happening inside the collective this July. So we had our roundtable the first Friday of the month. We were talking about what our personality actually is doing in our homeschool. We're learning to understand ourselves in context of Enneagram. July 10th, we did a discussion on the book The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stable. And this Friday, July 17th, is the Writer's Room. We'll put pen to paper on everything the Enneagram has begun to open up within us, the things that we're getting clearer about ourselves and about each of our kids, and for those of us who are partnered, our partners too. July 24th, we'll have our actionable strategy session. We'll be building a homeschool day that works for who we are and in how we relate to our kids. Find us in the Confident Homeschool Mom Collective on Patreon. Just come check us out. Your first Friday is completely free. You can see if we are your cup of tea. By the way, my favorite, ribos. I think you might find we're exactly what you didn't know you were looking for. Oh, how I wish a group like this existed back in my day. Then when we were traveling, I still had all my friends. And when we weren't, I could make sure to connect in the confines of my bedroom when the kids were on screens in the other room or doing something with their dad or doing something else. And occasionally, of course, making their way into the room because, of course, they will do that. But this will be a space, just like Sarah said, that you will actually choose to spend time in. You will time block your week so that you can make sure to spend time on yourself in the collective. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found a few minutes to sit down and listen to this one, although, to be honest, it probably didn't happen. If you were folding laundry or driving the carpool, that matters too. You showed up for yourself when you show up to listen to this podcast. I'd love to hear how this episode landed for you. Shoot me a message on socials, or better yet, leave a podcast review wherever you listen. It means more than you know, and it helps other homeschool moms find their way here. I want to remind you, you matter in your homeschool life, not just as the educator, the planner, and the one who holds it all together, but as a whole person with needs, desires, and a life worth nurturing. You don't have to overhaul everything. You just have to take one step toward alignment. That's what we do here together. We'll see you next week.